A Way Out is a game that I've had on my radar for quite some time, not just because I really like the concept of the idea, but mainly because the creative mind behind it, Josef Fares. Ever since the game was shown off E3 2017, it's easily been one of my most anticipated games of 2018. With that being said though, I still didn't really know what to think of what I would get out of the game. I mean, sure, I knew it would be a very different experience, what with the co-op feature and the focus on telling a neat story rather than trying to get as many hours into the game as possible, but I didn't really know how it would all turn out in the end, mainly because of the fact that it was developed by Hazelight, a studio that, although had Josef Fares, who had previously made Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons, wasn't exactly a large studio. So you can imagine my surprise when I absolutely loved my time with A Way Out. Even though, yes, I haven't played that many games in 2018, it is undoubtedly the best game I've played this year, leaps and bounds beyond Far Cry 5. I'm sorry that it's taken me till now to review it, but I'm so happy that I can finally talk about something that I have excitement to talk about. But I think it's really just shown me that A Way Out truly is a one-of-a-kind experience, and easily, like I said, one of the best games to release this year. The story of A Way Out centers on two criminals named Vincent and Leo who aim to break out of a prison in the year 1972 in order to take down the crime boss Harvey, who has wronged them both in the past, while also trying to evade the authorities who are trying to recapture them. I'm not going to say anything else related to the story because I don't want to give too much away, because this game is very story driven. If you're someone who really likes games with a tight narrative and a lot of focus on them, I think you'll really appreciate this game. Don't let the co-op element confuse you, because the story, in my opinion, was probably one of the game's strongest points. And what I really liked about the game is that it really did a good job of being able to make you understand their characters, where they're coming from, and not just make them these one-dimensional people who just want to go ahead and we're only teaming up because we're killing the same person. They actually are complex characters who have different sides to them, and I think that the co-op feature with this game really did suit in helping you get to understand these two characters, you know, by having missions centered on them, or them doing things or suggesting different things that are completely different to what the other person might want to do. They very much feel different, but at the same time they complement each other. The voice acting I was a bit worried about, only because I never heard of the two people before. In fact, one of them is actually the brother of the creative director of the game, so I really didn't know how that would fare out, but it turns out it was actually a really good choice, because I really enjoyed the voice acting, and it didn't feel distracting or bad at any time to the point where it, influenced my impact on the game in a negative way. I enjoyed almost every second of it, and the voice acting, I would say, arguably maybe even enhanced my experience playing the game. I felt like they just had such a good connection and chemistry between the two of them when they were talking with one another. And another thing that I really appreciated about the game was the way that it was able to pace, these story moments with these elements of action as well, and how well the two of them combined. And it was especially the second act, because I didn't know where they were going to go with that, where they were going to lead up to, and how they were going to execute it. And I think they did a really good job of it, because that was the area of the game where I didn't know how to feel, especially as I was playing it. I didn't know if they'd be able to pull it off, but they did, and they did a really good job with that area of the game, and just being able to manage that element in terms of making the pacing feel as if I wasn't getting bored. There was always something to do, something interesting to look at and discover. And the ending to this story, I'm not going to spoil it of course, but the ending really did catch me off guard, but in a good way, because I didn't look up spoilers for the game at all, and I was completely blown away with how much I enjoyed the ending. It's very much a flip on what you've built up to the entire game, and then to see it play out is really shocking at first, but at the same time it makes sense not only for the story but also from a gameplay aspect, and especially if you're playing with a friend, it's really gonna make the last mission of the game very exciting to play, definitely. The presentation of A Way Out is not exactly anything revolutionary. I mean, it's not running on the Frostbite engine, so don't expect it to be as realistic as Battlefront or Battlefield. But for a co-op game, I think the presentation does a very good job at, being surplus to demands. It's a good looking game, it's just nothing out of this world. Because at times in the game, you as players will have different objectives, but the game does a very good job presentation wise on screen of being able to show you what you're meant to do. You never feel confused as if to say, okay, what am I doing? Which screen is my character on? You know what's going on. Your character can be in a cutscene, and yet your friend or yourself or vice versa can just be walking around, and you can even see it in the cutscene. I've really found that kind of stuff just really, really crazy to think of, like the fact that they were able to make it so that obviously this person's in a scripted cutscene, but then you can do something at the same time. It's really smart with how it's done presentation wise, and I liked that aspect of it, the way that it showed the co-op elements and the way that it was able to use them on screen. And the frame rate as well was perfectly fine. I didn't experience any drops in frames, apart from a few, obviously, issues of lag, which is always going to happen because I was playing with my friend online, so that is expected. But when I played it with my dad, I had no frame drops whatsoever, so that was a really nice thing to see. And the music as well for this was something that caught me off guard. I really didn't think the music for this game would be that interesting, but it really was. And it's not anything that will blow you away, or like sounds or music or instruments used that you haven't heard of before, but the way that they're used in conjunction with what you're doing, it really got you in the heat of the moment and what they were trying to do, whether it was to hype you up or get your blood rushing or to make you feel some emotion. It's really well done, and it's definitely one of the strongest areas of the game. That being said, however, a co-op game can only be as good as what gameplay it gives you and your buddy to play, and for me, A Way Out was able to really surpass my expectations in this area. The amount of varied gameplay segments in here is so well done. Like I said in my story section, I never felt bored playing this game. It always had something new to throw at me and let me do or control. One mission you can be doing a heist, the other you can be chasing someone on a construction site, the next one you can be just walking around a caravan area, interacting with other people, getting to spend more time with the characters, and another time you can be in a gunfight. It's so well varied, and there was always something different to do, which I really appreciated it, and it really made the experience quite memorable, because it's very rare that you feel like you're doing the same thing twice. You always feel as if that you're doing something different in almost every mission, which I really liked. And I also really liked some of the areas where they actually implement the co-op to actually force the two of you to work together as a team to actually progress to the next area. For example, there's a mission in the game where you have to pick up fish, but the only way you can actually do it is by having one of you to distract the fish to lure him to your friend, who then has to pick it up, and vice versa. That was a really cool element, and there are stuff like that in the game that I just found really impressive, because it clearly shows they put effort into the co-op area. This wasn't something that was just thrown in, it was something that was there with actual intent and purpose. And what I really liked was that some of the levels were very open with how you could go. There were multiple pathways in certain areas, and then obviously you've got other levels which have not as many areas to go through. They're a lot more linear, but they still felt very engaging to me, which was what I really liked. And I didn't expect there to be that much variation in the game, but there was, and it really did take me off guard in just how well they were able to use it. That being said, I do have some problems with the gameplay. For example, I felt some of the controls felt a little bit clunky in places. They didn't exactly feel very smooth to use. I think the two biggest areas that I noticed this was in some of the interactions. They're a bit hard to do sometimes, mainly because sometimes lag when I was playing with Declan on my first playthrough stopped me from doing a few things, and sometimes the walking felt a bit weird, you know, because you have to press him with the left analog stick on the PS4 to be able to move, and sometimes it didn't let me run for some weird reason, which was a bit strange. But that only really happened in like my first 2 attempts of playing the game with Declan. After that it was fine, so I don't know if that was a day one bug, but it was there in the game and it did annoy me a little bit. And the other one was combat, because although I think the gunplay for the most part is quite good, the one thing that I did have an issue with was the cover system. Sometimes it didn't really work that well, or it wasn't very clear how to use it. Like, you can take cover to an object, but then getting out of cover was a little bit strange to me, because it was almost as if the game wouldn't let you get out very easily. You kind of had to move backwards completely before you could get out of cover, or you had to like dive out of the way. It's a bit strange how it was done, and sometimes getting into cover as well was a very big issue, but that was only really an issue during the heavy gunplay segments, like where you've got a load of enemies coming at you, which I won't spoil when that happens in the game, but you'll understand what I mean. When you get to that area, you will find that the cover system in the game isn't the greatest. But other than those two things, the gameplay is very varied, and like I said, for a co-op game to have this much variation and to only have those two small issues as the only ones that exist there, I think is a really big achievement, especially for a small studio like Hazelight. I think this is probably one of the best value for money games that I've played in recent memory, because I mean, I've been tired recently of getting ripped off for games by paying £40 to £50 and then not playing the game after like 10 hours. Now granted, A Way Out story is only about 6 to 7 hours long, dependent on how fast you go through it, But what I really liked was the fact that this game is only like £25 or less. The value that you get from this game is really, really good. I mean, obviously you've got the first playthrough, like I said, which is about 6 to 7 hours long, and there's also multiple areas that you can go in the story. For example, you can have a scenario and you have two ways of doing it. You can either do it Leo's way or Vincent's way, and it's really cool because it allows you to then have this intention of going back and then to see how different the other pathway was, and in some cases in the game they are very, very different. So it's really cool to play the game again and experience that. There's a lot of cool Easter eggs in the game and a lot of other like fun side things you can do as well, which I thought was really, really cool. And more importantly, I feel like this was a very memorable experience. And at the end of the day, when it comes down to value of game, I don't think it just means how much replay value you get out of it, but also how much value it takes in terms of how memorable was the content. Is it something that will stick with you? And for me it was, especially like I said, that first playthrough. But the other things you can do as well, and like I said, for the price of the game, I honestly think it is worth it, and I still think it's one of the best value for money games that you can honestly buy this year. It's really, really good. You'll be hard impressed to find a game with better value for around the same price as A Way Out was. Overall, A Way Out was honestly one of the most unexpected surprises of this year. For a game that I really didn't think was going to impress me all that much, this was a game that I simply put couldn't stop thinking about, especially after that first playthrough of what happened at the end, and the fact that I was even able to get my dad, who doesn't even like video games, to play this game with me on a second playthrough is honestly amazing. It has a great story with really, really great characters, very well voice acted and very well written. Presentation that's very, very good for a co-op game, gameplay that was very fun and varied and gave me a really good experience, and just a game that just stuck with me. It stuck with me. I still remember so much about this game even after I finished it, because it simply put had so much to it that just made me not want to stop playing. It's easily one of the most different kinds of games I've played. A co-op game, you know, that has this focus on story, which I've just never seen before, and it's definitely an experience that I just don't think I'll be getting elsewhere. In terms of game of the year so far for me, yes, it probably is, but then again, I haven't played God of War or Detroit, but this is certainly an experience that I won't forget, and if there's one person that I think deserves the credit for this, it's Josef Fares. This is a guy who clearly loves video games. He clearly aspires to make these story-driven games, but deliver them in a format that's maybe a bit unorthodox, but making it work, and I have to give credit to him. He's done such an amazing job with this game. Everybody was a bit skeptical about him, especially with his rant at the VGAs, but he's genuinely made a game that is memorable, that's had an impact on me, and I think those are the best kinds of games, the ones that have an impact on you and stick with you, and for me, that's what A Way Out has done, and I just don't think that feeling's going to be going anytime soon. I'm going to give A Way Out the score of a 9 out of 10. So thank you all for watching my review of A Way Out. Like I said, just like my Far Cry 5 review, I apologise so much for this review being late. Like I said, I just got caught up with a load of the school stuff, and this game did come out whilst I was on holiday, so I just didn't get the opportunity to go ahead and play A Way Out. But yeah, I'm just happy that I finally got to talk about it, you know, apart from my Far Cry 5 review where I was very, very negative with that one. This review, I was just really happy to talk about it because it's actually a game that I came out of positively, and I'm just so happy that I finally got around to beating it, and it really has restored my love and belief in video games, because everyone knows I've been on a bit of a burnout these past 2 years, but A Way Out has really been the game that I feel like is starting to get me out of that burnout phase. Like, I'm actually wanting to play games now, which is something I haven't really felt for a long time, so I am planning to get around to buying Detroit Become Human and God of War, so those reviews will probably be coming up sometime in the next month or two. We'll just have to wait for that, but thank you all very much for watching this review. Let me know in the comment section down below what you thought of A Way Out yourselves. And with that being said, thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you again next time.